Good morning, children. Today we are going to learn about transportation of mineral salts and transportation of manufactured food. So through the xylem vessels, the water is passing from roots to various parts of the plant. Then uh, uh, how the mineral salts and the manufactured food is transporting? In this class we are going to learn, children. So first come to the transportation of mineral salts. So in the water many of them salts are there and minerals are there. These are when the roots are absorbing the water. So in the water these salts, mineral salts dissolved, and immediately these are divided into ions. So the salts are currently they formed like ions. So in the water, from the soil they dissolved into the water. Through the water, in the form of ions, these mineral salts transported to be transported to every part of the plant, particularly to the growing parts of the plant. If you observe maximum the mineral salts are sodium chloride, NaCl, and magnesium sulfate, MgSO4. So these are the two salts. These two salts, when they dissolved in the water from the soil, then they are changing like ions. So NaCl is changing like a Na plus Cl minus ions. Like that, magnesium sulfate is changing Mg plus SO4 minus. So like that, these salts are changed into ions. So in the form of ions through the water in the xylem vessels, they are to be transported to the growing regions or to every part of the plant, children. So here in previous classes also we have learnt about ions. So here if you observe the salts, particularly in the form of ions, through the xylem vessels, that means in the xylem vessels which are flowing, water is flowing. Through the water in the xylem vessels, the mineral salts in the form of ions, they are transporting to every part of the plant. This is very important, children. Once again I am repeating, the salts present in the soil, when they dissolved in water, they will be changed into ions. For example, NaCl is changing into Na plus Cl minus ions, and magnesium sulfate is changing into magnesium plus SO4 minus ions. So these ions are to be transported through the water in the xylem vessels to the top of the plant or to the growing regions, and they are helpful for the plant parts for the growth, children. So this is the transportation of mineral salts in the plants. In the examination he will ask it. Then through which form the mineral salts transport in the water through the xylem vessels in the plants. So like that he will ask children. Then in the form of ions, you have to write like this, children. Now come to the transportation of manufactured food. Transportation of manufactured food, children. So here if you observe, this is a stem and these are xylem vessels. By the xylem vessels, phloem vessels are also there. So we have learned now about phloem vessels. Always the phloem tissue or the phloem vessels transport the water and minerals and salts, that only. Then what about the phloem? Another cells, another tubes are there. These are the xylem tubes. They are made up of sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells. So with many of them cells, these tubes are formed. So these are present at the side of the xylem vessels in the stem or in the root or in the leaf. Through these xylem tubes, the food material is transporting. the food such as sugar is synthesized in the green parts of the flower, and these are to be transported through the phloem tubes and to various parts of the plant, and they will be utilized. And not only that, the manufactured food from the green parts also transported to store in different parts of the plants, children. So like that, the xylem vessels are always helpful to transport the food materials in the plants. And the scientists, if you observe, if you take leaf, in the leaf, this is the midrib, and to the rib, small veins are there. To the veins also veinlets are there. So in the midrib, in the veins, in the veinlets, xylem vessels are there, phloem vessels are there. This is totally called as vascular bundle. So in the vascular bundle, xylem tissue is there, phloem tissue is there. So it is to be connected to the top of the cells in the leaves, and this is to be connected. These xylem phloem tubes are connected to the stem also, into the stem. That means in the stem also phloem and xylem tissues are there. They are to be connected to that. So like that, the continuous connection is there to every part of the plant with phloem and xylem. So here the scientists, many of them observed here how the phloem sieve tubes transporting the food material to every part of the plant from the green parts of the plant. So they observed. So when they observed, they took one incident also. So here, if you observe, this is an aphid. It pierces means inserting. So it pierces, its mouth part. This is called proboscis. What is it? Proboscis, children. What is it? Proboscis. This is called proboscis. Proboscis, children. This is called proboscis. This is a long needle-like structure, children. It is piercing into the stem. In the stem, which is there, xylem vessels are there, phloem vessels are there. So here, is there transporting food materials or not? To find out that, the scientists took this incident, children. Here, the insect aphid. This is the aphid, an insect. So it is piercing its proboscis into the phloem vessels and sucking the plant juices. So this is commonly called as a green fly, children. So these aphids always feed on plant juices, children. So when the aphids are feeding the plant juice, particularly on the newly formed stems. So in the newly formed stems, they are very soft. They can insert its proboscis very easily. So for that reason, they observed how the aphids feed on plant juices. They observed. The scientists are observed. So here, when they observed, slowly they cut the body part. They removed the body part. This part they removed, the scientists. And after that, up to where this proboscis inserted into the plant, into the stem particularly, he observed. So it pierced its proboscis into the phloem vessels, and they are sucking the glucose or amino acids. So then if they observe the pierced part, from the pierced part some small drops are coming out after removing this proboscis of the aphid. Then it is sticky fluid came out, then that is called glucose. That is called glucose, children. So here when the proboscis penetrating up to where this proboscis penetrated, if they observe, then it is in phloem vessels. Not only that, children. So in some plant on some plants, the aphids are sucking more sugars, children, from the phloem vessels. And whenever they are present on the leaves, so these excess sugars released in the form of droplets from its proboscis and fall down the leaves. And if you touch that leaves, and they are very sticky, children. So this is called honey dew. What is honey dew? When the insects or aphids sucks excess glucose from the phloem vessels, and it comes out in the form of droplets through its proboscis and fall down on the leaves, children. Then if you touch that leaves, then they are very sticky, and then that is called honey dew, children. So like that, they observed is the phloem helpful or not for the transportation of food materials. So by this activity they observed. By the that means how the aphid sucking the food materials from the from the phloem vessels. So like that, by this activity the scientists understood how the phloem vessels helpful for the transportation of food materials. And after that, children, the sundew is there. That means sundew means it is nothing but the excess glucose from the aphid comes out particularly from the proboscis. So this is called sundew. Okay, children. After that, another activity is also there to understand about the food material which is flowing in the which is transporting in the phloem vessels. So here, if you observe, if you take one, okay, children, in next class I am going to continue this activity. In your textbook, he has given the activity also. We have to take one stem and we have to remove the bark around it. That means what happens if you break that bark of the stem? What happens? Then is there transportation downward the food metals or not through the phloem vessels? That one, in that we are going to learn, children. Okay, that activity in next class I am going to teach children. Okay, so now you get your diary, children. Okay, first question, write down, children. How the mineral salts transport how the mineral salts to be transported in xylem vessels. So this is one diary question you have to write, children. You have to read, children. Next question: how aphids feed on plant juices? This is one question, children. And finally, under the third question, textbook reading textbook reading pages 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 60 67 and 68. 67 and 68. So the first question is there, how the mineral salts to be transported in xylem vessels, how aphids feed on plant juices, and finally the third question, under the third question, textbook reading pages 67 and 68. Note down, children. So last one is textbook reading pages 67 and 68, children. So this is the diary, and in coming class we are going to learn about if you damage the bark of the stem, how is the transportation of food materials through the phloem. That one we are going to learn in coming class, children. Okay, children, thank you.